What's going on, guys? This is 10 from 12 with Mods. Now, I'm just doing this little video to actually show the actual update on my Trailfinder 2. About a bit ago, I'd say about 2 months ago, I did the bearing steering mod to get rid of the slop in the steering. And actually, I just took the axles apart today just to do a little freshen up and everything. Now, I noticed with that was I still had slop, and actually the bearings that I put in were actually damaged already. I wasn't too impressed with that, so I figured out why it did it. Now, this is the actual original post that I seen on rccrawlers.com, and it's the user was scxscaler. He made this post about the Trailfinder 2 steering mod that he did. He didn't originally do this first. He said he found it on another site, can't remember where, so I can't tell who the original person was. But some of you guys have probably seen this. Now, what you need is 4 3x6 by 2.5 flange bearings. There are those bearings right there. Actually, there's a better picture of them right there. Now, this is a picture of when I originally did it. As you can see, the flange bearing is actually sitting on it. Now, here's the problem that I came into. The bearing, when you drill these out, as you can see, there's the original hole, and then that's the new hole. Now, the bearing doesn't fill the whole void in the hub. It only goes like halfway through. Now, the stock little bushings that went on the knuckles, these things, sorry about the whatever, these things, they actually went from the inside of the hub and up. So this would sit, that little flange would sit in between the axle and the actual knuckle. Now, when you do this, the problem with it, let me see if I can find a better picture on here. Sorry. That's how it looks like with the screw on and everything. But it doesn't show the actual problem with it. The problem with it, if you actually look at this picture, there is a gap right here. On the bottom and the top. And the screw goes through the bearing, and you can't even tighten it. You can't tighten it at all because there's nothing stopping it from being tightened. You'll actually push the center of the bearing right out of the actual bearing if you try and tighten it. So there's this huge gap, which I'll show you on my pictures here. I actually took a bunch of pictures when I did this. Sorry about this. This is me flipping them, but this is just an example. When the bearing is on top, you have that much of a gap in between the bearing and the bottom of the steering knuckle. That's a huge gap, top and bottom. When I did this, I had them originally on top, and I was running that for a couple months. I actually destroyed all 4 bearings. I thought I didn't, but I did, because I had the screws down tight and they were pushing the centers out of the bearings. So what I did, as you can see in the picture, is I actually, this time, flipped them. I put them from the inside up, so the gap is like this. The reason why I did that is this way now, the gap between the knuckle and the axle is actually diminished. There's no gap. The only downside about it, when doing this, let's get another picture. When you do this, you actually have to file the axle housing. The axle housing needs to be filed on the top and the bottom to actually clear the bearing so it actually will sit on the axle housing. I'll get another picture here. Here we go. So it looks like this. Now, when I did this, I could actually put the screw and tighten it all the way snug, so it was nice and tight, and still had free play. It wasn't crushing anything. The bearing wasn't crushed. It had zero slop at all, which was amazing. So as you can see, like no play at all. So it was super amazing. And as you can see, I don't know if you can see it in the video, you can see the two bearings sitting on the axle housing, working perfectly fine. And the nice thing about this, when you put the screws in, they sit flush. They're totally flush. I haven't ran it yet. I will be running it to do a test on it, so after probably in the next day or so, I'll probably get it out. I'm actually really hard on my truck, and if this holds up, then you know you're laughing. But I find it if you do it this way, it's actually better for it. It actually strengthens the actual knuckle, so it doesn't have that gap, so there's no play in there. It keeps the hub centered more, and the screws, no problem. No, there's no binding, no nothing. As you can see, I have no binding issues. So they work perfect. So I hope you learned something with this video. I will get out and do a test run and everything, and then I'll do another video of my results. But I think this way is 100 times better than the other way, just because it gets rid of the gap in between the knuckle and the axle and everything, and it sits flush. There's no play up and down, side to side, or anything. You're just running on a smooth bearing surface then. And this way there's not a lot of stress on the bearings. Alright guys.